As you should realize by now, pivot table reports are great for showing breakdowns by category. They display the required numbers, and they can be manipulated in a variety of ways. But each pivot table, after all, is just a table of numbers, often a lot of numbers, and most people prefer charts to numbers. Fortunately, Excel provides exactly what these people want: pivot charts. This video illustrates how powerful pivot charts are and how easy they are to create. I will again use the online purchases dataset for illustration. I have already created a sample pivot table. Now I will create a corresponding pivot chart from the Pivot Table Tools Analyze ribbon. It is as simple as clicking a button and selecting a chart type. An attractive chart is created immediately. There are only a few things you need to know about pivot charts. First, and most important, a pivot chart stays in sync with the corresponding pivot table. If you change the pivot table, the pivot chart updates automatically. Actually, you can make a few changes in the pivot chart itself, and then the pivot table updates automatically. I will show a few examples shortly. Second, fields in the rows area are used for labeling the horizontal axis, and fields in the columns area are used for the legend. In other words, each item or combination of items in the columns area corresponds to a separate series in the chart. Third, the only pivot table tools on the pivot chart itself are drop-down lists. These allow you to sort or filter on a selected field. You should make other modifications from the pivot table itself in the usual way. Fourth, when a pivot chart is selected, 3 Pivot Chart Tools tabs appear: Analyze, Design, and Format. Their associated ribbons allow you to change the pivot chart in a number of ways, and they are quite straightforward. Note that there were 4 pivot chart tabs in Excel 2010, but they were condensed to 3 for Excel 2013. Finally, pivot charts are special Excel charts, but they are Excel charts. Therefore, you can use Excel's chart tools to modify them in the usual ways. As one simple example, I will select the grid lines and press Delete to delete them. You can read a lot about pivot charts in books on pivot tables, but you are more likely to become confused than enlightened. This is a case where watching is much better than reading. Watch now as I make a number of modifications. As you will see, it's really easy. I'll filter directly in the pivot chart, and then I'll remove the filters. I'll switch the row and column fields, and then I'll switch back again. I'll add another row field. Then I'll switch the order of the row fields. And then I'll switch back again. I'll add another column field. Then I'll switch the order of the column fields. Then I'll switch back again. I'll add another field to the values area. Then I'll move the values button around. I'll basically start over and create a line chart of total spent by month. Hopefully you are convinced by now that pivot charts are amazing, a manager's dream. Fortunately, they are also a manager's reality.